Thank you. We can. All right. Since we are running behind, we have some other performances and stuff like that. But we're going to go to the award ceremony. So it's a box back there with the awards. And all right. I hope y'all enjoy yourselves. All right. Y'all enjoy yourselves. I want to introduce y'all to my beautiful wife, the Mrs. Robinson. Sean Robinson. Right? And we have an amazing story. Because, tell it, right? So, this organization, ARC, the executive director of Sacramento office, he just had to leave, Joseph Gray. He was just here. At ARC, the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, right? Also I met April Grayson right here. But I was at ARC. Now, this is a spiritual story, right? Just so y'all know, right? And when you begin listening to the Spirit of God, to that right consciousness, to that voice inside you that says, "Hey, that's the right thing to do," and all of you here are here because you follow your passion, you follow your purpose, correct? Because there's a lot of founders in here, right? It's a lot of people that are dedicated to their work, that are dedicated to their passion, and so we learn how to listen to that voice. And so I was at ARC, and I'm sitting there, and I'm doing my stuff, I'm knocking it out, I got work to do, type of thing. And she walks through the door. And God said, "Love her." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Love her. I'm like, "Okay, all right, well, I don't know how to do this. I done got these messages before, but it ain't never, I didn't really have no plans on loving nobody. Look, I'm still in a transitional house. You know what I mean? I rode a bike up here. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Look, I'm not in a position to handle no responsibility like loving nobody. Look, man, I got a pedal when I leave here. Right? But love her. So, okay, so I stepped to her and, I said, "Hey, what's your name?" "My name's Sister High." Sister High. Right? So she didn't even want to give me her name. Like, "I don't know this dude. She walked in here. I don't know this guy. I'm Sister High." She shot me one of them slick ones, right? Like, "Okay, I'm Sister High." Like, okay. That was a dodgeball, right? I'm like, "Man, God, are you serious? She didn't even give me a name. How am I supposed to do that?" Right? So anyway, long story short. After a few months, we start talking, start communicating. One day, and now we're here. I found out that she's a beautiful, beautiful spirit, a wonderful woman. And it was always my goal, if we're going to be examples, right? If I'm going to be an example to my daughter, Misha. Hi, Misha. Right? If I'm going to be an example and I want somebody that's going to love her and stick it out with her and go through the ups and downs and help her, then I have to show that I'm willing to do that. Right? I have to do more than going from this one to that one to that one to this one, or just, being by myself, and I have to show my ability to love. So God sent me Mrs. Robinson, and that's how we met. We met at ARC, and we've been living ever since. So we always tell our story. A lot of you here probably seen us got married, probably seen me propose, and all of this good stuff. And we're gonna move forward. We're gonna introduce these awards. Right? And so, as we call out these names and we get the the organizations, right? The people who represent that organization is going to come up.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So quickly, my name is Jeff Deskovic, and just like Archie, I'm an exoneree also. I did 16 years in prison from age 17 to 32 prior to being proven innocent through DNA testing. Been home 14 years. I'm an attorney now. And I took some of the compensation I received and I started the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice. And we've been able to get 11 other people home in the same position I was once in. And we've helped pass some laws aimed at preventing wrongful conviction. And I'm part of the coalition group, It Could Happen to You, which, by the way, I want to share with you all the exciting news that as of a couple nights ago, the governor of New York signed into law the country's first oversight board for prosecutors. And we have the California It Could Happen to You chapter as well that I'm active in. So hoping to build and connect with people in the after party later on, because we need that oversight for the prosecutors right here in California. We need that, and we need to get rid of the capital punishment because of the risk of executing innocent people, as amongst many other host of objections that I won't take the time to elucidate because we all are on the same page. But most importantly, for tonight's purpose, I'm so proud to partner with Leslie Robinson. So Leslie created the Recharge Beyond the Bars reentry game, and I partnered with her on it as far as financing that as my way of giving back. So while I was wrongfully incarcerated, I was helped in various ways by people who were rightly convicted, and I was also have seen since my 14 years of being home, many people who did something, which is why they went incarcerated, but they changed their lives around. So I believe in rehabilitation. I believe in the second chance. Hence, getting behind Recharge is my way of trying to give back and facilitate that. So the way that Carl and I are going to work this, I will introduce the organizations and Carl will reference the individuals. So first up, we have the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, which works to end mass incarceration in California. To ensure communities are safe, healthy, and whole, ARC empowers formerly and currently incarcerated people to thrive by providing a support network, comprehensive reentry services, and opportunities to advocate for policy change. So let me quickly say, while I was wrongfully incarcerated, I saw many people come back into the prison many, many times. Nationally, there's a 68% recidivism rate. So I am feeling the mission of ARC, and so many people that were returned back to prison there on technical parole violations, and people sentenced that were nonviolent offenders, and people over-sentenced, and people in prison because they had a drug problem, which is really a public safety issue, not something to incarcerate. So I'm really feeling the mission of ARC. Okay, and any help on reentry. See, I got no reentry help, and it was a struggle for me for 5 years. So hats off to that organization for helping people reenter society. Let's hear it for ARC.
ARC. All right. So here comes Mrs. Shawn Robinson to represent ARC. Can you tell us about ARC and what you do?
Oh my goodness, I want to say thank you to everybody being here that believe in our fight for freedom and equality. ARC has been tremendous help in my life. When I first got out, this was the organization I belonged to. Quick story about myself, I did 22 years behind the walls. When I got out, they taught me the ropes and how to do things that I wasn't able to do because I didn't have access to a phone and a whole lot of other stuff. And so they were very helpful in my life. I got all three of my jobs through ARC, and now I am a life coach at ARC. All right. ARC is an organization that is ran by a bunch of famous people that want to see formerly incarcerated folks win in life and that believe in second chance. I want to thank all of you guys for wanting to see us move beyond the stigma of incarcerated people and how they are and the way we live our lives. We are just like the everyday folk that you walk in the store next to. We are not those criminals or those bad people that you see or that you see on the news. We are just actually normal, just want to live our life, law-abiding citizens. I pay taxes every year. And I'm so grateful. I just recently got off parole, so I'm so excited. And also, I am one of the advocates for Prop 17 that allowed formerly incarcerated parolees a chance to vote. Yes. And so I am part of that movement. I thank you all for believing in us. We love you. And thank you for wanting to see us win in life. Amen. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay, and next up, the next organization is the Young Women's Freedom Center. And they empower, inspire, assist, and trans young women, trans young men, and gender-expansive young people who've been disproportionately impacted by incarceration, racist and sexist policies, juvenile criminal justice systems, and the underground street economy to create positive change in their lives and communities. And I'm feeling that mission because I'm opposed to discrimination, period. Bottom line, anybody, any reason, dehumanization, not an option for anybody.
So I'd like to welcome up April Grayson. April Grayson. April is like a workhorse, right? Like a Jamaican for the people, right? Just go in. So she was working there, but she was also working at ARC as a life coach then. And right, and so April was with me in the trenches. Right, when I was at the transitional home, and the brother Severio, who you see right there, we came back one day, and they said you got 3 hours to pack your stuff and get out. Wow. Right, I think maybe less than that, maybe like 2 hours.
It was less.
And he just did 20 years in prison and didn't have anywhere to go, and they said we don't have any funding, you got 2 hours to get out.
My God.
All right, and I'm like, here I am from Florida, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. What am I going to do if they can just do it like that? I mean, like, what is the funding? I thought, I thought funding meant like you at least paid up for the money. I mean, that's what happens when you pay rent, right? Like, wait a minute. So anyhow, I started making preparations. I'm like, I got to get out of here because any day I could get the boot as well. And I ended up leaving there because it was a drug more facilitated toward people who were rehabbing for drugs, and I didn't have a drug issue. And they pulled some trickeration on me, and April was there for me. She like, we're going to call the director of the organization, and we're going to holler at them directly, and that's what we did. And I ended up having them fund me, go to another transitional that was more suited for me. People who do the work. Once again, I hurt myself really bad. I fell down. I fell down, right? And my foot was tore up. And I walked the dog, though. I had fell off the bike. The light rail almost hit me. That's a long story. I'm not going to get serious. And I fell. And so I had a dog to go train because I was working with WAGs. And so I went over there and I grabbed the dog. And I walked the dogs for an hour. But after that, I was strung out on the park bench. I couldn't ride my bike. And I didn't have nobody to call. And I called my life coach, April Grayson. And she came and got me. On the grass, drove the truck up through the park and everything and picked me up and took me to the hospital. That's the power of the organizations that we work with and the people that care. And she also works with the young women. So I'm going to allow her to talk about that. Thank you, April.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Today is Juneteenth, as you all know, the day that, so 154 years that they notified slaves that they were free, that they were actually free people. And so we celebrate today, which honestly I don't think we should be celebrating because it's not like we haven't really attained victory yet. At the Young Women's Freedom Center today, like I was at the Capitol. I'm on a coalition and a co-sponsor of ACA 3, the bill that will put the abolishment of slavery on the Constitution. So we're going to bring that to the people. So we just passed with the public safety on Wednesday, and California will be a free state because it's not a free state right now. As long as people are incarcerated given free labor in California, we are not free. And so until everybody is free, I'm not free. I'm a person who spent over 17 years in the world's largest prison, about 2 hours from here, and I'm also a criminalized survivor. So all the protections awarded to people who are victims of crime weren't awarded to me. They sent me to prison and did not penalize or put the person in jail who was actually the person who committed the crime. But today I stand before you, a person who's been home for 6 years, a person who is fighting to change laws, a person who fights for other survivors, and people who are just, people who have done some shit. Like, we fight for them too. We fight for everybody because everybody deserves to be humanized. And so until the world is humanized, I will continue to get up, pull up to parks. We're going to go to the directors at the funders to go get people housing and the money that they need, and we show up for our people. So until they're free, I'm not free. Thank you.
Next organization is POPS the Club. They are transforming shame and stigma caused by the experiences with the carceral system into hope and dignity through support, shared experiences, and a loving community that encourages self-expression. Now, I want to quickly mention I'm feeling that mission because when I come in contact with a lot of people on parole, they mentioned that one of the things that their families struggle with is, their spouse, they kind of hide the fact that they were incarcerated and their kids felt a certain type of way. So there definitely was that impact, but they felt helpless to do anything about it themselves while they were incarcerated. So it's really wonderful that an organization helps people process those things. So based on that, I'm feeling the mission of POPS the Club.
So we have Amy Friedman, who's the executive director. Amy, can you please come up? And the founder. And she will tell a little bit about how she came to this. Amy and I were recently connected by another connection. So we've had a couple phone calls, and I feel very connected, even though I've only known you just a little bit. But let me just read a brief bio. 8.5 years ago, Amy, author, ghostwriter, and writing teacher, co-founded with her husband, Dennis Danziger, the nonprofit POPS the Club. The idea of POPS is to bring clubs to high schools to provide support for teens whose lives have been impacted by the pain of the prison system. POPS, pain of the prison system. Amy's passion for this cause is personal, which she'll speak on. Today, POPS clubs serve more than 500 teens each year in 19 schools in 5 states. And the organization has published the work poetry of more than 700 teens. And Amy has some anthologies at a table outside. She believes these young people have the knowledge, understanding, and resilience to heal this nation of its addiction to incarceration. Amy. For bringing your light. Yes, we honor you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thanks.
I think it's fine.
Okay, can you hear me? First of all, I'm really honored to be among so many of you who are doing such important work. I've been sitting back there all choked up. And I'll tell you a little bit about where POPS came from, and I hope where we're going, and I hope to engage all of you in what we're doing. 28 years ago, I was a newspaper columnist who walked into a prison to find out how prison worked. And I fell in love with a man who was in prison, and we got married. This is a longer story that I won't bore you with, but I raised his 2 daughters, who were very young when they came to live with me. And what I learned, first of all, was what prison was and what prison did to people, and what prison did to people's families who were incarcerated, and most of all to the kids who have loved ones who are in prisons. My husband and I were married for 7.5 years. I spent a lot of time in prison visiting rooms. I think, like when I was asked to step to the line, if I had ever been in a prison, I thought, yeah, I feel like I lived in prison for a few years. But my girls, stigma, shame, silence, and they're older than I like to admit they are today, because I like to think that I'm still 35. But they really haven't ever healed from that. And so after my husband and I divorced, I married a man who was a high school teacher, and I started going into his classrooms to teach writing. And I teach memoir, and so I would work with kids about their personal stories, and people would say, yeah, my dad's not around, or yeah, I haven't seen my mom for a while. And I'd go, prison? And they'd look at me like I was the psychic and also scary. And so, long story short, my husband and I just kept saying we need to do something for all these kids. 1 in 14 children in the United States has a parent who is or has been incarcerated. We work with kids who have parents, siblings, other loved ones. So it's, a massive issue. Most people don't think about it or know about it because, except for those of you who I'm sure are parents who've raised kids, dealing with this. And we just wanted these kids' wisdom and experience to be acknowledged, honored, heard. We wanted them to know they weren't alone. So we started a club at Venice High School in 2013, and we're now in 19 schools in 5 states. And my goal is to have it in every school. And Dwan and I are going to bring it to the Bay Area. Jeffrey and I had an email exchange a few years ago. We were going to bring him in to be a speaker. So I'm learning as I go. I really, all of you, I honor you. I love you. I hope I get to work with all of you. And thank you for this, Leslie and everyone. Yes.
And the next organization is Self-Awareness and Recovery. They reduce recidivism and incarceration rates, helping youth heal from emotional wounds experienced during formative years, explore factors leading to destructive lifestyles, and healthy coping skills. And I really, really love that mission because I experienced emotional wounds. I mean, when I originally was arrested, I was 16. And by the time the trial rolled around, I was 17. So I was in from 17 to 32. So I can relate with the idea of emotional wounds for young people. So with that, I hand the mic over to Carl. So I'm really enjoying that mission. So it's such a necessary healing thing, and so consistent with the theme of tonight of healing and fighting reincarceration and successful reintegrations into society. So well chosen, Carl.
Thank you. I chose that because once again, you're in a room full of founders. I'd like to introduce Henry Ortiz, one of the hardest working activists that I know. You will find Henry in the streets daily. And not only is he the founder of Self-Awareness and Recovery, he's also a super advocate. You see his hat he got on? Of All of Us or None. So we got to give him 2 awards for fully representing both of these organizations, for founding Self-Awareness and Recovery, and for being a super, super advocate of, hey, look, if you have a business, you need to get somebody like Henry. Right? Because Henry is a gator. Okay, here we go. Henry, tell us about it.
Man, I'm not usually, I haven't been nervous since I was like 12. Like this, right? Yeah, because once I started smoking weed, when they were criminalized, I just came out of my, from being a little shy kid to just like, what's up, homie? You know what I'm saying? You know what? I just wanna thank you all for uplifting our voices of people that have been incarcerated. People are barely starting to realize how messed up the criminal justice is when it comes to people of color. How punitive it is when they stack up life sentences of how many life sentences can a person do? What's the difference between death row and LWOP? Like these are and like you're punishing trauma that was never treated in these communities that are oppressed, that are criminalized, and are fueled by these oppressive cops. No kind of restorative or transformative healing. Only our people know what transformative healing. And it's gonna take us to fight for that healing, to uplift that voice, to hold these court systems accountable. Because they're corporates. The prison systems, they've been making a lot of overtime money just like law enforcement has. When we're talking about defunding police, we're talking about investing in community. You know, people hear defunding police and they cannot imagine a world without a system of enslavement and oppression. This country right here was native to our ancestors, and you know what, they basically diminished the hell out of our people, right? And then they kidnapped some of our black relatives from Africa. Imagine being kidnapped. I don't think anybody can have a conception of what that would be like. I don't think there's been ever a country and a system that has been so punitive with incarceration as the United States. You know, Los Angeles being the county that incarcerates more people than any people in the world, right? And you know, even though we're 10% of the country, we incarcerate more people than the whole world. You know, and you know, California especially, our system of enslavement, you know, through slave labor, through criminalization of misdemeanors, of now I'm gonna work you in the system for peanuts, if that, right? And then now I'm gonna put you on probation, and you're gonna work more there, and then I'm gonna, or parole, and then I'm gonna violate you, put you back and forth over and over and over and over. I'm gonna get at least 40 years out of your ass. That's what they've been doing to our people, you know? And so, yeah, we need to start preaching this truth. This hidden truth that you can Google. It is out there. We need to fight for our people. We need to fight for our community, for our children, for our futures. Because if we don't, we're going to have another system. In the 90s, I grew up in the 90s, right? I was born in 81, grew up throughout the 90s when they came out with the tough on crime, war on drugs. They were calling all the young people baby predators, you know, these hard labels, you know, offenders and criminals. Really, these were children that were traumatized by a system that brutalized us, that used these racist concepts to institutionalize us in juvenile hall, probation, these ankle bracelets for kids, all the way to prison, life without parole. To finally, people started, families and communities started creating that chain reaction, right? To create these bills that are being pushed through organizations like All of Us or None that push 12 bills, ARC that are partners in different fights, and all these different organizations across California. There are many to name. And I want to honor and I want to uplift the voices and share this award with all you grassroots organizations that don't get paid sometimes, that are out there outside from 9 to 5, that are putting in work, our core. Even when you don't have the answers, we organize to find the solutions because we have community. And here there's a lot of rich resources. But you know what they've done to us? If I bring in numbers like that and I add up a count of 10 people, we'll come up with like about 1,500 years worth of sentences in 10 to 20 people. So, you know, now more than ever, I want to just ask that we be kind to each other, loving to each other, and recognize our BS when it comes up, because it comes from trauma. It comes from a system that is institutionalized. And a system of racism, of oppression, sometimes we take it home. We use it in our employees, you know, and we institute it within our friends, right? And now you have all this internal conflict and fight, you know, because we're brainwashed by a system of oppression, of competition, of who's the best, shiniest org or organizer or leader or executive director or boss, right? It's like, if you're the best, show us that you're the best by investing in people, investing in community, and bring other organizations that are struggling or people that are struggling to train them, to uplift them, right? So, and you know, going back to Saul, man, I want to share this award also with my friend Daniel Silva, who did 39 years for a wrongful conviction. That man was done really dirty by the system. I know firsthand countless stories of what the freaking system has done to us. They're the terrorizers of black and brown people. I don't mean to sound like I'm stirring crap up, but I got to speak these realities. I can no longer, know this truth. We can no longer know these realities and not do nothing about it, not organize, because it's going to impact your grandson. It's going to impact your son. It might impact you. There's a lot of people in this crowd that did time, and a lot of people in this crowd that are impacted by people that are incarcerated. So, you know, in that journey in there, we started seeing a lot of us were traumatized. I started realizing when we were getting high and angry and people were gutting each other up with stabbing and doing brutal, violent acts on each other and politicking on each other, I started seeing that we were just hurt people who were hurting each other because we carried a lot of resentment from our fathers being abandoning us, or abusive stepfathers, or systemic abuse through foster care, and many horrible childhood stories that I listened to over the course of time, from starting with the 4 agreements, teaching those concepts, and breaking down books on evidence-based concepts, as they use that term now, to basically keep some of us out of the loop of being able to teach. Some of the most powerful facilitators are in prison. They provide the best freaking healing, and I know a lot of these men can facilitate healing, but we haven't been supported. That's why we organize. That's why it's so important to organize at the state level, at the local level, and pushing. So in that whole time, we did a lot of healing where we helped guys find insight into the causative factors of the criminal behavior. Because a lot of people couldn't articulate that. I was drunk, I was angry. No, you got to go back to your childhood. What happened to you? And what led to that? And so that's been the work in there. I push people to the limit to come out and really address the demons that we all carry, and to be aware of them and monitor them day by day. Thank you. I don't want to take up too much time. I appreciate you guys.
Okay. So the next award is going to Ken Foster. Ken and I met through Clubhouse. Ken is going to speak. Ken was awarded the Inspirational Talk Show Host Award. He brings 35 years of experience in personal and business development. He's a bestseller author, TV, radio, and podcast producer, business strategist, life coach, serial entrepreneur, and syndicated host of the Voices of Courage show, heard in 170 countries. So we're very pleased that Ken traveled here to share in this event with us. Voices of Courage is what everybody's bringing forth here, and that's what Ken seeks to amplify. Ken empowers audiences to take the courageous path. It can be very hard for most people to do that, let go of limitations, and generate unlimited success in business and life. He gets extraordinary results by empowering learners and leaders to stretch out of their comfort zones, redefine themselves, and see the unseeable, another thing that's very, very hard for most of us to do. Know the unknowable and do the impossible, which many people in this room are doing as well. His latest book is The Courage to Change Everything, Daily Strategies and Essential Wisdom to Awaken Your Inner Genius. Thank you, Ken. Your plaque is going to be coming.
I've heard that before. It's on, yeah, the check's in the mail. Okay, got it.
I promise.
Okay, awesome. Sure, yeah, let's do that. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you for bringing your light into the dark.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, I was prepared for a speech tonight, and that speech just about 2 o'clock in the morning was just channeled right through me. And as I sat here today, listening to the greatness in this room, I mean, there are leaders and learners here, and there are founders here, but there's greatness in this room. There's brilliance in this room. And so I asked myself, why am I even here? What's going on here? Well, 1992, I was in Sacramento. I was living in Rancho Cordova. And I was seeing a counselor at the time because my life sucked. Everything sucked. My relationship sucked. I was estranged from my children. I was spending every dime I made. I was doing drugs and alcohol every day. I was trying to feel good, trying to be in the skin. And I was in a counseling session. In fact, I'd seen that counselor for a year. And I walked into the counselor one day and I said, "Doc, I'm hearing this voice in my head." And he said, "What's the voice, Ken?" I said, "The voice says you've got to feel the pain to make the change." And I said, "What do you think I should do about that?" And he looked at me, could have said a million things. He said, "Ken, I can no longer work with you. You need to follow that voice." And as I walked out of his office, and I thought, my God, I came here because I'm hearing voices, right? I'm hearing crap. But that was the voice of wisdom, and that was the voice of courage. 2 days later, I walked into an AA meeting, and a big guy by the name of Jim, never forget, he put his arms around me and said, "Welcome home." So that was about 29 years ago. And I'm still making some amends. I came up here today and saw a friend, spent the afternoon with her, and we talked about a lot of the wreckage that I had created, right? And so I thought, well, how can I contribute to this amazing group that's doing the work that you're doing? And then I thought about my life again. I thought, you know, I've been doing a lot of spiritual work for many years. I've become a meditator, became a triathlete for a while. Yeah, I wrote books, wrote a bunch of books. And I thought to myself, you know, what's the theme of this? And then I thought about my dad. My dad was LAPD for 48 years. He also served concurrently in the Central Intelligence Division of the Army for 33 years. But here is a man that had compassion. He had deep love. He had great stories, too, of what, you know, the trials he went through. But he had deep compassion and love for his children and for those that he served and those that he incarcerated. And he would tell me those stories over and over again. So I just think there's a piece here that we need to hear that other side, too. You know, there are some really amazing men and women that are out there serving us and serving our communities that are helping to take this to the next level. Now, I do want to say this. About a month ago, when Leslie came together with me, we put together a group of 3 individuals. I'm pretty good at putting together amazing groups. So Leslie was one of them, and Jeff was one of them, and another fellow by the name of Azim Kamisa, whose son was killed by a gangbanger when he was 18 years old. And Azim went to the father of that child and said, we both lost our children. And they started a foundation called the Azim Kamisa Foundation. And they've gone around the country and solved bullying and helped people to work with those troubled children. So we put that group together, but we put that group together to take it to the next level. As you know, as I've been fortunate to help so many people to, again, see the unseeable, know the unknowable, do the impossible. What is that? That's really working with our mind and taking our mind and getting out of limitations. No matter where you are today, you can expand. Whatever organization you're in right now, think about your fundraising, double it, triple it, quadruple it. Don't ask how. Don't ask all, you know, so many of us, how we're going to do it. Who cares how? I wrote a book called Ask and You Will Succeed. 1,001 ordinary questions to create extraordinary results. There's not one how question in that book because so many entrepreneurs ask how and it shuts us down. Just ask what's the next 3 steps to get my dream into the world. And what we're doing in that group is we're expanding our vision. We're thinking in terms of billions of dollars that need to come into the system. We need the right politicians behind us. We need the system. There are systems already. Germany has a system, which is absolutely incredible, that one of our panel members is very familiar with. And the recidivism rate over there is, what was it, Jeff? It was extremely low. We also have, in this country today, we have the systems. Well, one of our lady friends, what's her name? What? Sue Ellen Freed. She's got a system in which state? Do you remember? Minnesota. Okay, yeah. The recidivism rate when you go through her system is less than 10%. We have the ways to do this now. But what we need not right now is we need backing, we need funding, we need political clout. So that's what we're doing. So I guess that's why I'm here. I'm just here to tell you, listen, we need to get outside of the box, okay? We gotta, I'm talking about take your thinking and blow it up. And then just go find somebody else that's got blown up thinking that's unreasonable like myself. I'm just very unreasonable, right? Don't get into reason. Get into your end goal and your result. So with that, I'm gonna stop. But I have 2 awards, right? One for Carl Robinson here, and you know this is my way of giving you an award. This is my latest book, The Courage to Change Everything. With it, Carl, comes a couple of sessions with me to blow up your thinking. So, thank you. also for Jeff, I've got the same thing for you. I've got the book, and that is my gift to you, brother. Listen, that book, I designed it so it took me 6 years to write that book. This is my 7th book. But that book, I wanted to make sure that we had wisdom from the ages and wisdom from the sages out there, from the East and from the West, so that we can help people to reprogram their thinking on a daily basis, right? Nobody wants to go read a 400-page book, but every day, if you drip a little wisdom, you drip a little knowledge, you drip a little inspiration, that's what changes us every day. Okay, I'm done. Ken Foster, thank you for having me. Thank you for your word. Thank you.
Also, I wanted to take this time out to commend Carl Robinson, my husband, for putting this all together, because he did an amazing job. I have been with this man each and every day, and he has put in the work. He has beat the pavement every single day, and I just want to commend you for all of your work. I mean, he has done so much for this community, for our church, and for everybody that needs help. He is a wonderful man. He is the smartest man that I've ever met in my entire years on this earth. This man has a mind out of this world. And I want you to know, if you invest in this man, he ain't gonna let you down. I mean, for real.
Thank you very much. Okay, next organization is Hustle 2.0. They reduce crime, violence, and recidivism through evidence-based correspondence programs that equip incarcerated people with the tools to transform their lives by changing their thoughts and behavior. And what I really like about that is, I remember, when I was incarcerated wrongfully and we had the college education program, and I saw how just having access to information, having access to learning, and conversations changed from people talking about war stories from when they were running the street and chasing the dollar and doing illicit things, to instead having dreams of being counselors and diverting at-risk youth from incarceration and being teachers and doing criminal justice reform. And I want to mention that, Hustle 2.0 has an 8% recidivism rate only as compared to the national average 68%. Let's give it up on that.
So, here to represent Hustle 2.0 is my good friend and best man at my wedding, Silverio Strong. He's also an activist. He's a Hustle 2.0, Defy Ventures. I'm going to let him tell you about himself and Hustle 2.0 and what he does now.
All right. So thank you very much, and big shout out to Defy Ventures and Hustle 2.0. These two programs, what they mean to me and what they can mean to you is life-changing understanding about the struggles of going through hardships, of the scars that we have left unidentified. We have all some scars internal, and Defy Ventures and Hustle 2.0 offered a multi-layered program to peel that away and to get to your humanity, to get to your compassion, your empathy. The directors of these programs, we have one in the back, a representative, Dewan. Dewan, please stand up. Dewan is a representative of Defy Ventures, and I have sat next to this man, I have watched this man, and I have seen him grow. I have seen him change people's lives, and I have seen him, as we've heard the many testimonies here today, I have seen him made himself available to you if you really want. You really have to want it. And he will make himself available to you. The program is real, the people are real, and they really will touch your heart if you want it. And that can help you with the 3 R's. The first R is release. What comes with your release? What came with my release was a lot of hard work, a lot of self-inventory. And it came over decades of time because I wanted to change, but I didn't get it. So I had to recycle myself through programs over and over again until I found the seeds that was able to interest me to participate. Defy Ventures is definitely one of those seeds. Hustle 2.0 is another seed. Hustle 2.0, being graduates of both of these programs, being cohorts of both of these programs. We went on to successfully graduate over 80 men in 3 different cohorts. And I sat and worked side by side with these men who put it all on the line. They put it all on the line, and they reassured me and gave me the strength that I need to continue to put it on the line. Defy Ventures and Hustle 2.0 are definitely milestone markers in my life. The people that I have met through the program, some just like you in this room, they came and they gave me more than I could ask for. I was able to connect with real people, and I was able to experience and receive within my heart and within my mind things that I had never done in my upbringing because I didn't have those influences, those role models, those mentors, those advisors. And these people, that community of people became that. Hustle 2.0 is ran by Catherine Hoke and Charles Hoke. These 2 people have shown me a great deal. These 2 people have given me my belief in myself to have a second chance at life. They lifted me up by the bootstraps when I sat still. I'm a public speaker. I'm a mentor and a public speaker, and I engage people in an exercise called Stand Up. And the exercise is basically you find what you stand for and you take a physical stand where you are. When we do this, we see gaps in the room. We see that this woman is sitting, he is sitting, he's standing, she's standing. What we do is in our community, in our homes, and in our individual selves, we find the individual who is sitting next to us, who don't know what they stand for, and we give them the strength to stand. They have to find their own resolve. But we give them the strength to stand by saying, hey, I'm here with you. Whether it be an advisor, whether it be a mentor. Hustle 2.0 provided that for me. Everything else, I did the work myself. I did all of the difficult work myself because I was really interested in it. I believed in myself. So I took a stand. And Catherine Hoke, Charles Hoke, Defy Ventures, I'm forever indebted. Thank you.
And what I want to mention in regards to both those organizations, just the importance in training people on how to start businesses, hustling the legal way, as well as employing, getting ready for employment. One of the main difficulties people have when they reintegrate back into society is being able to obtain gainful employment. I know I was always passed over for gainful employment, so why not equip people to start businesses and do things, in a legal way? It is a business. A lot of the criminal endeavors that were done before, why not apply that passion and learn a little bit and, have some legal businesses and employ other people? So again, really wonderful, wonderful programs. Next organization is Potter's House. Okay, let's hear it for Potter's House before I say anything. From their own words on their website. Have you ever been involved in an organization where the leaders need to practice what they preach? Well, at Potter's House, you can expect leaders to lead by example, living lives of good character, integrity, and love for the Lord. And I want to mention that they delivered food to individuals and families due to the shelter in place order that was in place in connection with the COVID. So, really no words for that. It kind of speaks for itself.
This one is very near and dear to me. Like I said, I listen to spirit. And my wife, she attended Potter's house before I did. And there was a spiritual truth spoken there. And that spiritual truth was, I'm going to lead you to the way that God is in you. Right? I'm not going to be God for you. I'm not going to be your link to God. But I'm going to show you how to find your own link. And when she brought that spiritual truth back to me, I knew that the truth had been spoken. And so it's some magnificent people, also business owners. This is distinguished gentlemen that y'all compliment me on. Let's get it for distinguished gentlemen who's attached to the Potter's house. Right? Sitting here is stand for as Pastor Penelope Larry.
That's what's up, Pastor.
And Pastor Roy Larry. Right? Of the Powerhouse Church of God in Christ. When I say they do the work, they do the work. They do the work, from helping to establish lift programs where here we'll give you the car and the gas, just go drive. Right? And make you some money. From look, if you need to have a meeting, or you need to get something funded, we got you. So I just like to bring them down right now as some true spiritual lights in our community, and people as a shining example who do the work. Who do the work. The Potter's House, for bringing your light into darkness, we honor you. Look up distinguished gentlemen. This is a distinguished gentleman outfit right here. And they do personalized styling and tailoring. All this is tailored. I ain't never been tailored before in my life, but I got tailored through distinguished gentlemen. Thank you all. Potter's House.
Y'all should be modeling.
Since I was not expecting this, when I was just sitting there and I was listening to people's story, and I was sitting next to Attorney Don, and I was listening to Attorney Jeffrey, and I just said to myself, look at God. Look at what he did, whether we agreed with it or disliked it or was mad at it or became mad at God because of it. Look at what he did, how he brought us all together through adversity and through trauma and through circumstances, but he still brought us all here together. Look at God. That's all I said to myself. Man, what an amazing God to know that our lives would collide on June 19th. Those that had been erroneously incarcerated, and those of us who have never been to prison, but sometimes they're still in prison in our minds. And then you meet someone like Brother Carl that spent 15 years in prison, come to the Potter's House, and a lot of things he's given opportunities to people at the Potter's House, and I've never been in jail. And don't play in the go. But it's amazing. So when he says label me free. Let everybody know that I am free. You want to put a label on me, then label me free. Because the Bible says is it all right to preach? Because they brought up the Potter's House, because somebody just need to bring in the Spirit of God in this place. Yesterday, okay, and then I'm gonna let my husband say something. So yesterday, Leslie and Jeff and Scott, where's Scott? Scott and Severio and Archie and Carl and my team, they went outside. And am I missing? No, that was everybody. It was about 11 of us in Distinguished Gentlemen. And at the end of the whole event, and Goldie. Oh, someone always want to interrupt me when I got the mic. And so, but we had an amazing time. But then at the end when we prayed, I'm telling you, the power of God fell in that place. And a lot of times we are all believers, but we don't have a discussion about it. We all know that God helped us, but we don't have a discussion about it. We all know that God brought us through something, but we don't have a discussion about it. And I believe when we begin to have a discussion about the things that God has helped us with, we will be more mindful and more intentional about the things that we can do together. And I like what Brother Ortiz, and then when we know that the system makes money with incarceration, that's why it hasn't gone away. The system makes money with racism, that's why it hasn't gone away. When the system is making money on these things that are not beneficial to us, but when we know that God is in control, and when we mention God, and we put God in the middle, and we let him do what he can do in all of us, we can change anything. And then the book just said, change, you can change everything. So, let's change everything.
I just want to say, when people come to our church, the expectation is for you to get involved and to be free. We don't care where you came from, because when you come to our church, we know that you're going somewhere, because the Bible tells us is to go. So we don't have time to be prejudging you, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and you got to sit here in this ministry for 55 years before you can get up and sing a song. The very day that you come in here, the very day, I'm talking about the same day, I'm talking about the same hour, I'm talking about the same minute, you can do something in this ministry. We don't have time. I'm 67. I'll be soon to be 68. I don't have time to play games with children. We don't have time to play games. And when Sister Shawn came in, we knew she was in prison for 22 years. You know what we did? We embraced her. We didn't ask why and what happened and all the rest of that old stupid stuff. We embraced her. See, because it's not about where we came from. See, God said, he said, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth on him shall not perish but have everlasting life. We ain't got time for foolishness. Not in our church. Not in the Potter's house. When you come there, you somebody. And the expectation is for you to do something and to do it in the level of greatness. That's where we are. And anytime you're not doing great, then the pastors will come and have a conversation with you. Because you are supposed to be great. Because the Bible said God is great and he's greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. Greatness is in this room. Greatness is in this room. We thank God for Brother Carl Robinson putting on this function. Is this great? Is this level? I mean, is a level great? Huh? Okay. Okay, in the church we say amen. Is this level great? Is this level great? God bless you.
Okay. And next organization, kind of an interesting title, by the way. Go points on creativity there. Positive change. And as the name might imply, the goal is to aid in the rehabilitation of humans and animals. You know, what better goal than that? Just help aid in the rehabilitation of human beings, you know, and also animals, you know, stray, hurt, etc. But not all that different in different ways when they release us from incarceration. You know, we need to get we're hurt, we need to get the rehabilitation there.
Hey, brother, you might want to join in on me. This is how I'm going to introduce the Positive Change program. I'm going to switch it up for a minute. I'm going to switch it up for a minute. This is what came to me when I was out there walking. Jump on the congos and see if you can feel this vibe for me real quick, right? You'll catch it, right? You'll catch it. Here we go. More family than woman, so they send me to the pound. Then I got to rehab by some men doing time. I made a positive change. Now I'm alright. Rescued by Marlins. I'm a mud feline. They say don't talk. Please don't touch. Don't contact my eyes if you want my trust. If you not calm, I'll call your bluff. I might be a dog, but I'm not stupid. I might use my nose and smell some bud. It's a canine conversation, please don't judge. More feminine woman, so they send me to the pound. And I got rehab by some men doing time. Made a positive change, now I'm alright. Rescued from Marlins, I'm a mud feline. Woo! I'm a mud feline, I'm a mud feline. I'm a mud feline, I'm a mud feline. Come on down, Zach Scout, the Positive Change Prison Program founder. My brother, Zach.
Thank you guys. I couldn't think of a better place to be today, right now. I'm searching for words, which is hard doesn't usually happen to me. But the vibe, the energy in this place, Henry and the Potters, and hearing everything that's been talked about in here. Let me give you guys some context, tell you a little bit about me. I started Marley's Mutts, which is an animal rescue, after I was diagnosed with end-stage liver disease. I was 28 years old. I drank and drugged myself into liver failure. Doctors told me I needed a liver transplant. I wasn't going to get one. You need 6 months of sobriety to qualify for a liver transplant. I hadn't had 6 hours of sobriety, much less 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. Dog named Marley rescued me when I got out of the hospital after I got admitted to the Comprehensive Transplant Center at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. And the rest is kind of history. I started working with that dog, and then the rest of my rescue dogs formed an organization called Marley's Mutts, and we dedicated ourselves to helping the dogs that helped save me. About 6 years into that process, a friend of mine got out of prison. He had served 13 years in prison. He was incarcerated at 17, got out at 13, tortilla flat crib, involved in just kind of your run-of-the-mill story, just like anybody else would end up in prison. And he adopted a dog. He came up to my house and he adopted a dog I had been fostering. This dog had been shot, 40 caliber slug to the chest. We had to remove one of the lobes of this dog's lungs. And Robbie was like, a lot of people when they get out of prison who haven't had any programming, who haven't been involved in positive sides of prison, they almost seem feral, couldn't make eye contact, worried about people, places, and things, scared of people, places, and things, which is exactly how I felt, We adopted that dog to Robbie, and it changed his entire life, changed his whole trajectory. He was somebody who was destined to be back in prison. He was a recidivism statistic, one of those 68% waiting to happen. And he ended up going on to form his own animal rescue organization called Strength the Shadow, named it after that dog, and amongst many other things. We hired him to work at our ranch. He was our ranch manager. And that led us to want to get into the prison system and start providing therapy, the same therapy that was provided to me in my recovery, the same rehabilitation we wanted to provide for incarcerated men and women and children. It was 5 years trying to get in the prison system. It was not easy. We got shut down at every door. They would promise us and give us a little bit of hope. Finally, Warden David Long brought us into California City Correctional Facility, which I have to give a little shout out to Defy, because if you guys have never been to a Defy Ventures graduation, the only thing that is more positive is a positive change graduation. But Defy graduations are something else, man. It's an incredible experience. So we opened up our prison program, and we've been doing it ever since. We've been inside for 6 years now. We have programs at 7 facilities and trying to expand as many as we can. We have a girls juvenile program, the only program in America where rescue dogs live with incarcerated girls in Bakersfield, California. I am so blessed. I know I'm going to get emotional, man. I feel so blessed to be in this room full of just incredibly inspiring people. Some of you guys I couldn't make eye contact when I got here. I was like, oh no. All these people, these are just a room of incredible individuals. You all inspire me. I've been so uplifted and inspired tonight. I don't even know what to say. I was 9 years old, my brother. What you shared in there, I don't usually talk about that. I don't ever talk about that. That's not something I step to the line for. And you made me step to the line right off the bat. He said 7. I go, oh no, I was 9. Whew. And Mr. Cool, Mr. Robinson. This man used to walk around with well, first of all, I'll never forget meeting the man. I'll never forget the influence he had on all the people around him. At graduation, Carl would sing that song. At every graduation, he would do something different. He would create something and he would present it. He would create a song. And then every graduation after that, he would get with the youngins. And he would work with Levi, and he would work with Kios, and he would get those boys, he would get a trash can, a chair, whatever he could flick, hit, create a beat to. And that's what we would listen to at graduation. He carried that message on to the young guys who were still performing at graduations at Cal City years after Carl graduated, And we talk about potential. There's up to 2.5 million people incarcerated, back in 2016, if we go off those statistics. 2.5 million pieces of potential, incredible human beings that we just forget about, that we just sweep under the rug for convenience sake and like to characterize, judge, prejudge, etc. But you can do better than that song. Come on. Just kidding. And to get to be involved in this work and to get to be, let me back up a little bit. Since I've been involved in this program, I have healed inside the walls of prison by working with these individuals. I'm the kind of person, I'm just like Scott Budnick from ARC. When I go into prison, I hug everybody. I'm having every sergeant and lieutenant pull me aside and go, sir, you cannot be that familiar with these. Man, this is against policy. You must stop that. And I just don't. I'm there to give love. I'm there to spread love. I love being in that place because I take all my pent-up anxiety, frustrations, things that I'm going through, and I bring it to you guys. And you guys were there for me all the time. And we would just men, but behind the walls of a prison with a bunch of dogs helping us be vulnerable, would share the worst parts of our lives, our worst experiences, what we're going through currently, things that we were powerless over. And man, I healed so much in that program, and I would see the light that this human being would generate, in some of the darkest places you could be. And this man is emanating a ridiculous, he has got, hey, you want some energy? Here's some energy for you. Here's some for you. Here's some for you. Hey, you need some? Here's some for you. Anybody who needed his energy, he would bring it to. The dogs, me, anybody around him, didn't matter what color they were. And man, what a special bunch of people all of you are. What a special individual you are. Man, we're both married. I got 2 little babies. I got a 7-month-old who's at a hotel down the street. I got a 3-year-old girl. I got a pit bull that's getting adopted to one of the founders of Facebook tomorrow. I just been sitting in the back of this room just flabbergasted, just dumbfounded at how incredible this is and what a spiritual experience this is, man. This is really, really, really incredible. As far as our organization, we're just trying to make the world positive change. We're trying to bring this program into every single prison in California because the pet industry is a $100 billion industry. It is a $100 billion industry that is more than 3 times the size of the music industry. And by creating dog trainers, professionals, dog behaviorists, this is the #1 position within the pet industry that we need right now. And we can create black and brown dog trainers. This is a field that's been dominated by non-black and brown people for decades and decades, and there are 6-figure incomes to be made aplenty in this field. And what incarcerated folks need are fields of economy, are industries that are willing to work with formerly incarcerated. And what's happened is this shift over the last couple of years where people reach out to us all day long, and my DMs are filled with, we need a trainer for our dog, but just don't send us any trainer. I don't want Lucy coming over. I want Mr. Robinson. I want someone who's been away. I want someone who's been down for some time. I want a rich experience. And what we're finding is that one of the best ways for people to rethink how they view incarcerated individuals is through the lens of dogs for some reason. Because it's such, rescue dogs in particular. And I believe in you, man, until the end of the earth. And I feel so blessed to be here. Thank you guys for letting me ramble.
All right. Thank y'all. Let me invite the one Lewis up here to defy my first computer was a Google Chromebook when I got out from Defy. I would travel to San Francisco. Like I said, I already told you the LinkedIn story. I've sat in the Google buildings. I've been some places dealing with Defy. Thank you for coming. Because through Defy, I met Gregory Gray that introduced me to the Positive Change Program. We are all interconnected. So tonight, here, let's interconnect. After party, the Sheraton, let's interconnect. Life after time, this is what it is. Let's interconnect. Our purpose, our struggle, this is all prime example. Everything here in this room is a connection. We're going to go on to do some great and powerful things together. I introduce DeJuan Lewis, the director of NorCal Defy Ventures.
Man, I did not expect this at all. This is beautiful. This is extraordinarily powerful tonight. I'm hearing a lot of words that are truly resonating with me in my spirit, in my journey. There's a lot being manifested tonight from a lot of words that are being said. And I just feel honored to be here. Defy Ventures is an entrepreneurship and employment readiness program that's facilitated nationally, but also inside of the state prison systems. And through entrepreneurship and employment readiness, we are helping to build equity in the communities by providing men and women who come home from prison, who have bad credit scores, who it's hard to get loans from SBA, or who are overcoming the barriers and hurdles that it takes to create a small business. And so by providing seed funding, by giving men and women the opportunity to be able to at least start that journey, it truly helps bridge the economic divide, the social economic divide, the racial economic divide, and the economic divide in our communities today. And watching brothers like Carl and Severio and many other men and women that come through the program, and watching that process and being a part of that journey is something that it truly resonates with my spirit. You know, myself, one of the reasons why I did come to Defy was because I myself was incarcerated for about 5 years. I was in Smith State Prison in South Georgia, where I was laying on my back like a slab of ribs, where there was cold water for 2 weeks, and I'm writing to the warden and getting no response. And being told that I was going to be back over and over again, seeing men and women come back over and over again, being told I wasn't nothing, but knowing in my spirit that I was, I knew what my destined path could be. And so when I got out, I was running a transitional reentry facility in San Francisco, where it was there where I came across my first lifer, individual who was doing a life sentence. And I realized then that my perception wasn't the reality. And so part of my destined journey is to help change the perceptions as well as mind states into reality, because often what we perceive is not what the reality actually is. And I noticed that when I came across this individual, the commonalities that we share that often go dormant in thought. And so that same perception I had. So I actually came to Sacramento, was working with DRP, and helped facilitate one of the largest lifer programs in the country in San Francisco at the reentry facility. And from there, I began to start my own entrepreneurial journey. Prior to coming to Defy, I run a nonprofit called Civic Pit Stop in San Francisco. I have about 130 ex-lifers on parole right now to date. And to be able to give back in such a way in these communities that we once took from is an exceptional feat. And now to be able to stand up here and work with organizations like Defy from a multiple fold, it truly is a blessing and an honor, not only to be standing up here, but to be talking to you, to know individuals like Severio, and to be a part of this program to help continue to bridge this economic divide and build equity in the communities amongst these brown and black folks. So the journey doesn't stop here. I appreciate everything that I've heard tonight, because again, it's truly resonated with me, with everybody who has spoke. Man, and man, God bless you, brother. So
is everybody doing okay? Yeah? So I wanna appreciate everybody for all of your incredible resilience and for sticking through this with us. So last award, definitely not least, is to my very dear friend Jeff Deskovic. So Jeff, for bringing light into the darkness, Jeff, we honor you. So Jeff is an internationally recognized expert on wrongful convictions and the founder of the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice, which, as he said, has freed 11 wrongfully convicted people and helped pass 3 laws. So I met Jeff when you had just been out a few years and was really struggling and trying to find his way, and is not the man that you see in front of you right now. So he is definitely a testament to change and to staying with the struggle and to working through things, because Jeff has transformed in the most remarkable ways and stands strong for everybody in this area. So Jeff is also an advisory board member of the coalition group It Could Happen to You, sits on the Global Advisory Council of Restorative Justice International, and is co-owner of what we're going to see a video of in a few minutes, the Recharge Reentry game. Jeff's motivation is he spent, as he said, 16 years in prison from 17 to 32 for a murder and rape he did not commit prior to being exonerated by DNA evidence. And finally, his story is the subject of the documentary Short Conviction, which is available on Amazon Prime. Jeffrey, thank you.
Boogie down in the house.
So I'll be brief so we can get to the film and go on with the program. The way I make sense of what happened to me is my mission in life, and I believe in God. So my mission in life is to free people in the same position that I was in, prevent that from happening in the first place, while simultaneously fighting for the broader criminal justice reform issues. I'm often asked, am I angry? My response is always that I want to enjoy my life as much as I can, whatever it is I have left. And I can't do that while simultaneously being angry. I feel like I lost so much. Why would I want to, in effect, lose the rest of my life? If I was to go down that negative path, it's not as though I would be negatively impacting the people responsible for what happened. I would be the only loser within that scenario. I want to mention, by way of context and speaking to frequency of wrongful conviction, that 19 people I did time with were exonerated either before me or after me that I personally knew. Per the National Registry of Exonerations, which documents exonerations nationally, close to 3,000 people have been exonerated, and that's just from 1989 forward. I mean, we saw Archie earlier, who blessed us with his voice, but I can't imagine to do 37 years. I barely did 16. I can't imagine going on for the additional, change in that. So that's just by way of context. And, one of the themes we've talked about a little bit tonight through various speakers, we've talked a little bit the intersection of race and criminal justice. And to just quickly mention a few numbers, African American person is 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder, and 3.5 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of a sexual assault. In the documentary Short Conviction, I tried to carry some water for some other non-innocence justice reform issues. The fact that it was about me meant that wrongful conviction would get some play. But what about the disturbing things I saw when I was up close and personal while I was incarcerated? And so I gave some light to those issues. I spoke about, the lack of rehabilitation in prison. I talked about the verbal abuse and non-professionalism of far too many of the correction officers, and that's amongst the ones that did not engage in that. Never was a word to be heard from any of them to reel in their co-workers, or you remember the slogan, you see something, say something. Always looking the other way. Well, what happened with if you see something, say something? I guess not applicable to them. Clearly us versus them, right? The guards versus the prisoners. I saw the terrible substandard medical care in prison. I saw elderly people in prison. The prison was not equipped to deal with the advanced medical needs of the prisoners. In general, much less if they were elderly. I spoke about parole reform, where credible candidates whose rehabilitation was so clear, as evidenced by obtaining of bachelor's degrees and associate degrees and completing various vocational trades and taking and completing programs that purport to address the crime for which they're incarcerated, as demonstrated by exemplary disciplinary records, and many of the men literally living in honor block and mentoring the young prisoners into, how to do their time and stay out of trouble and just try to go home and get back to your family as quick as you can. But to see them go to the parole board and be denied over and over and over and over and over again, based solely on nature of the crime. In other words, the charge, what the facts were, which is something that can never ever change. So to deny parole based on that is to completely abandon any pretense at all whatsoever of a belief in rehabilitation. I spoke about compassionate release, where if a prisoner is determined by medical staff, these are employees of the prison, to be terminally ill, they're able to file an application to be released early, that they might die with a little bit of dignity with their family in a normal environment. And to see that by the time these petitions, these applications are ruled upon, they're dead. They passed away. The decision arrived a day or two after they're gone, or they take so long and they're released, and then you hear 1 or 2 days prior to that. Hence the involvement in Recharge Beyond the Bars reentry game, which we're going to see, the film, in terms of trying to address the difficult journey once you are released back into society. I'll end with the remark, a dialogue I had with my brother, who's 3.5 years younger than me. And he said to me, Jeff, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what not to say. I don't know what to ask. And I don't know what not to ask. And on my end of it, I couldn't share anything with anybody. I hadn't been incarcerated before, because how would they know what it would be to be on trial? How would they know what it would be to be incarcerated? How would they know what it would be to reintegrate back into society, back into a world where there was no cell phones, GPS, or internet at the time of incarceration, where the culture is completely different, where buildings and cities and towns and buildings and houses and structures don't look the same, and the people that I knew in those neighborhoods aren't there anymore, and immediate and extended family being strangers, having gotten little to no visitation at all. And so Recharge steps into the middle, and it removes that awkwardness through these icebreaker questions, hence being involved in the game to bring it to life, and that it might help other people. I wish so much I had the tool when I was originally released. I didn't, but I have it now. And I play it a lot. I play it a lot with my friends and my family, and I never fail to feel reconnected, to have laughed, and to, most important, have felt some healing from it. And so with that, I'll pass the mic, and hey, thank you so much for listening to me. Really.